Podsmashers of the internet, and welcome to another episode of
80-Bit Podsmash,
where gaming goes to grab a beer. We are your hosts,
Penguin and Termite,
and we are a weekly video game podcast smashing together the ideas of things you care about with video games.
Yeah, just sort of general conversations about games and different topics within that. So, all right. So today we want to get right into it because
We're jumping
right into it. Not our main topic, but we are going to be jumping into a discussion that's kind of a little treat, something that we don't usually get to do. But we're doing a little bit of a kind of mini review because the week that this episode drops will be the week that so on Friday of this week, I guess. Tuesday?
I don't know. Crap.
Whatever. The 22nd. This episode, I think, airs on the 18th.
Yeah, Friday. You're right.
And, so on Friday, a game that we've been paying close attention to since EA 2 years ago, Anthem drops. And Termite and I were fortunate enough to get some time during the open demo this past weekend to get some first impressions that we could pass along to you guys if you were on the fence considering getting Anthem. So we wanted to
You can at least hear what Penguin and Termite thinks about it, maybe to help educate your decision.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, so the main topic tonight, we are going to be talking about digital stores. We're going to be talking about mostly a lot of the kind of controversies between Steam and Epic. So that's what we'll get to. But in the meantime, let's talk about Anthem. So you've got a whole list of notes here. Do you want to start off?
Sure. So first off, they shouldn't have called it a demo. And let me run this down.
Absolutely not.
So what we got was a vertical slice of the game captured in like July, which was what the industry insiders got to play at E3. A modified version of that. That's what we got. Which is not that's 6 months ago.
Yeah.
6 months of bug fixes and patches and gameplay tweaks and enhancements and all the stuff that they do when they work on a game for 6 months. So why would they call this a demo?
Right, yeah, they called it a demo. I was of the mind that they should have called it a beta test.
It's kind of not. It's kind of not even that. Like, I don't even know. This is unprecedented because usually in a beta test, you're actually testing an unfinished version of the complete game,
right?
And you will like influence the feedback. You'll influence the changes and the bug fixes that.
Well,
will go
some
forward.
betas will limit the content. Destany's beta apparently was very limited in the amount of content.
Well, they always do that.
Yeah,
I mean, it's always limited.
It's not the full game,
sure, but it's at least part of the main branch. Like,
right?
You're getting a vertical slice of the actual development of the game versus this weird side branch. Which they've gleaned feedback from the fans, like the whole idea of this launch day is coming because of fan feedback.
Right, they've done a lot of fixes, they're making some changes to the actual classes and stuff, so it's acting like a beta, but it was called a demo and it was so close to launch that it almost at least came across as pointless as to why they would even do.
So I'm just going to call this some EA PR bull stuff.
Yeah, I don't know. This might be a BioWare move, though.
I doubt it. The developers are just doing their thing.
Yeah.
Whatever.
So let's talk about the game itself, though. Let's talk about what were your impressions on the game itself, though?
Sure. So at first impressions, I mean, flying around like Iron Man is pretty awesome. It's a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the world seems pretty open. The graphics, of course, are pretty. The sound is good. It seems kind of fluid. Like, gameplay is pretty sound. I still say like Bungie is probably the cream of the crop when it comes to shooting mechanics.
Yeah.
So Destiny feels better.
It feels better from a shooting standpoint.
Correct.
But as I came to realize, and a lot of people, because I saw people talking about it online, Anthem's not a shooter game. It's a abilities game with guns.
Yep.
So really, each character has two like primary abilities and then one ultimate ability that you can use like occasionally.
Yeah.
And a melee. So you've got essentially you have like four different things you can do. You can do a melee attack, you can do one of your two abilities, and then you can also do your ultimate.
Yep.
And that's not including the guns at all.
Yeah, I actually found myself forgetting to use my gun.
Yeah.
Because I was spamming my abilities so much.
Exactly. Yeah.
And the
abilities feel good. Those do feel good.
Mm-hmm.
So that's...
And it really distinguishes the different types of javelins. There's 4 types of javelins.
Yep.
There's the Colossus tank. There's the ranger, all around balanced guy.
Right.
There's the storm, who's going to kind of be death from above, range.
Yeah, it's like your
magic.
mage. It's basically a mage. Yeah.
Definitely a damage dealer. And then the interceptor, which is in your face, glass cannon. Like he's going to be super quick
nimble,
to die.
super lithe, in and out of combat, going in, meleeing things,
but he's
jumping
fragile
out and running around. Yep, exactly.
One explosion, he's done.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. I do. So if you really want the Iron Man experience, you've got the Ranger for that. Like he shoots missiles. His ultimate is basically the Jericho missile from.
Oh yeah.
I heard it described as a mixture between McCree's ult and Farah's ult from Overwatch.
Okay.
So
yeah,
because you kind of have to like aim it, get all the targets, and then you let it go, but it shoots a bunch of missiles out. It's a cool. So it really does feel like, again, the Ranger kind of feels like the Iron Man. The Colossus consequently feels like Iron Man's Hulkbuster suit, where it's just like
huge,
big, massive robot. And then the other two kind of fill in their niches as well. But
so things I didn't take notes about, but I do appreciate about the game are how it emphasizes partying together so much that these 4 different javelins, which we've just described are very different, all have the same flight speed. And like that's a simple thing. Like you wouldn't think about that being a big deal, but it does help keep the party together because the Colossus is slow on the ground. He doesn't have regenerating shields. Like he's got to think differently. He's not going to be like it's just different. Each class is totally different, but yet they want you to stay together. And apparently, there's even experience boosts and extra like drops and stuff. Rewards for staying
together with people,
being within the vicinity of each other throughout your mission. And I was like, oh, that's really cool. And so, like, staying together is cool, which is going back to that whole launch bay thing I just talked about. It was disjointed when you had to, between missions, go back to your Tarsus area by yourself and play single player. But you don't know what your drop. So when you collect a drop, you get the rarity of it, but that's it. You don't know what it is until you go home. So you're with your friends, you're having a good time, you're doing a mission, and then all of a sudden you're like, okay, guys, got to dip, mission's over, and you're home by yourself. Now you're still in the voice chat, like you're not really disconnected, but in the game you are. And then you go through your inventory and do all your, equipment checks, and maybe you want to change javelins and get ready for the next mission, check your map, and then you have to invite your friends back and wait for everybody to ready up, and then you go. The launch bay is supposed to be that in between. That spot that's like not really leaving your friends, you're still there together, but it has all the NPCs you need to do what I just mentioned.
Yeah, it sounds like when you want a single player experience, you'll go back to Fort Tarsus, but everything you need to, from like managing your loadout to like, I think they even said you can turn in some missions and stuff like that for rewards in the launch bay. So that way you don't have, because you and I even experienced it with the demo, whenever you go back to the fort, because it was a single player zone, like it really felt disconnected from the group entirely. Even if you did stay together, there were some quality of life things that made sure that you didn't have to re-invite every time. But still, it didn't feel like the same experience. So I think the launch bay will be a good addition to the game. Some of my impressions were I really, really like the abilities and the gearing system. I felt like I played the entire weekend and I did find some, like your abilities are tied to your gear, like what you have equipped. So basically, like, you equip so for the Ranger who shoots, one of his abilities is she shoots, like, a missile out. Like, it's like that's like, you equip a different, like, missile.
Yeah.
So sometimes that missile might be a heat-seeking missile. Sometimes it might be, like, venom darts or, like, a grenade, like a flat cannon kind of thing. Yeah. But it's all, like, a thing you equip. So your abilities are tied to your, like, things that you equip. So they're tied to drops as well.
Yep.
Which I thought was interesting because it definitely means that unlike Diablo, for example, you don't really get additions to the spell book, except with like patches and major content updates.
Right. So the skill is the same, but the gear kind of can change what the skill does while you have that gear equipped.
With Anthem, you can have this. With Anthem, you can have the same thing. You can still have your other pieces of gear. You have like 6 component slots, and all of those components could modify the way your abilities still work. And yet, they can keep adding if they want to, they can keep adding new abilities for your class over time.
Just by changing the gear.
Here's a new drop. Here's here's a new thing. So there's a lot of potential for the gearing game. And there's a lot of potential for just how they've already talked a lot about how some of the things that have attracted me about BioWare are, for one, they're really good with feedback. Like, they are constantly talking on the subreddit, like, and they're constantly like receiving player feedback, being like, "That's great. We're gonna look into that." Yeah. So they are listening to player concerns, and I'm used to Blizzard, who is just super like they've had some times in their history where they've been good at listening to the players and other times when they've been bad. And I feel like they're in a really bad spot right now with player feedback. You never hear from them. They never talk on the subreddit. They never talk on their forums even. Like, it's just bad, the feedback. So hearing
especially
BioWare,
since BlizzCon with that debacle.
Yep. So hearing BioWare be like, hey, yeah, like we really want to hear what you have to say, and we're like open to making changes based on player feedback is awesome. And then one of the things they've talked about is they've said that like these kind of games can be really demanding on player time.
Yeah.
And so they're designing their end game content to be something that's like, instead of a raid that takes 3 hours, they're doing like an adjustable difficulty level, just like Diablo, and then their equivalent to raids should take anywhere between 45 minutes to an hour, as opposed to 3 hours of like straight content. So I really like that philosophy of like, because some of us like I can't devote 3 hours to a raid. I want to. I love raiding. I love raiding in games and getting together with a group and doing a coordinated. Like,
but 90 minutes is so much easier to digest. Than, oh, well, 4 hours. Here we go. Let's make sure you're completely geared up. Make sure you're completely optimized in everything you're doing. Yeah. And then 4 hours later, you might finish this thing.
Yeah. So, and then to kind of like piggyback off that idea of multiplayer, the multiplayer content that we did experience, it was you and me and my friend Justin. We all got on there. So there was 3 of us out of a 4-person squad.
Yeah.
And, it was so much fun.
It was a blast.
It was some of the most fun I've had in a multiplayer game, a co-op multiplayer experience. It was some of the most fun I've had in years. I think the last time I had a good experience with that was like 1 or 2 times in Destiny with you and
we had an episode on the podcast.
Exactly, we talked about that. So like that was a highlight, but like this kind of brought back that same magic. But like but it was again the difference. I think one of the major differences between the way the cooperative multiplayer plays out in Anthem versus it does in Destiny is in Destiny, again, it's all about that skill. It's all about the skilled shooter mechanics.
Yeah.
So 1 or 2 good players could carry a group very easily. We were carried through many dungeons by our friends Matt and Ian, like many times during our playing time of Destiny. Whereas with Anthem, I really felt like we were all contributing to the success of the group. Yeah. And when we all tried to go off and do our own thing, that's when things fell apart.
Yeah, we got punished for it.
Yeah, exactly. So I felt that whole, like, the team dynamic was very rewarding, and it was a very, very fun I call them strongholds, and it was like a dungeon. It was a very fun little crawl there, and I had a blast with it. It was amazing. It was it was like the highlight of my week. So was doing that with you guys. So... But let's kind of talk about some cons now, because we kind of hit a lot of things that we like.
We've woven some cons in there in our discussion, but one of the things you kind of highlighted with partying together, so there's a lot of minutia things, quality of life that brings the party together, that emphasizes the group, as we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
With that, the con that goes with it is the bad influence on single-player content.
Yep.
So I'm a huge single-player person. I love giant stories, giant plot points, character arcs, growth, changes, and development, those etc. Those things. I love that. I want dialogue choices. I want to influence NPC decisions. Like, I want to make my own game. Star Wars: Knights of the Old Republic is one of my favorite, probably in the top 10 video games I've ever played in my life. Right, it's up there. So I kind of want that. With it, when I'm online with my friends and we're doing story missions, there is in-game dialogue happening while you're playing, and you miss like all of it because you're chatting with each other. Either you're strategizing about what's going to happen, or you're trying to tell each other where to go or where you are.
Or you're just chit-chatting,
or you're
chit-chatting. Missing stuff.
And like, it's so hard to pay attention to the dialogue. I could be rude and be like, all right, guys, I'm going to mute myself and you while we go through the story dialogue. Right. And then that goes back to my point earlier about between missions, when you go turn in those single player, like you do a story, they call them the critical path, like that's a main mission story. If we did that together, I have to go back to Tarsus and turn that in. There's going to be a long dialogue. So bye guys for 10 minutes while I go talk to all of my NPCs.
Yeah, it's like, almost like
boring.
So like, they force you.
It's not boring, but it is. Yeah, it's disjointed.
They force you into groups if you don't already have one too. And you don't have to necessarily be in voice chat for that.
True.
But again, that just boils down to what experience does BioWare want us to have? Does BioWare want us to have that single player, like, what this really rich and interesting story? Or do they want us to have the multiplayer experience? Because the way the game is designed right now, you can't really have both. You have to choose either or.
Right. They've presented you with both.
So you either, exactly. So you either go with the option of just going solo for a while and not listening to your, like, not talking to your teammates, because the story missions aren't so terribly hard that you have to coordinate like you did with Stronghold.
Right.
But, and you can also adjust the difficulty level of everything. So you could just blow everything through easy just to get the story, and then just, group up with whoever they put you with, and then that way you could have all the time to focus on that. But like I said, that's the thing, is like, it's not seamless in the way that you would want it to be, I think, with a single player story. So what do you want to be, Anthem? Do you want to be a big sprawling single player epic, or do you want to be a multiplayer game? And then so the other things that kind of bothered me, the gameplay loop is very satisfying. The combat and everything's very satisfying. I'm not too terribly worried about bugs, because bugs can be fixed. What I am worried about is content.
Yeah.
And a game like this could go very wrong. I like their philosophies, but the problem is the structure of what we've seen with MMOs and MMO lights is big content patches with big drops, big dungeons, big raids, like, over time. And that is kind of proven to keep people interesting. And BioWare wants to do kind of like they want to do like small changes over time. They're kind of modeling after Fortnite, where like a big storm comes in and now there's snow everywhere and stuff like that. And so it has some potential to be really cool. They could always patch in new enemies, they could patch in new weapons and new items and stuff like that, which could be really cool. All of that could be awesome. But it could also be really boring, and I think that was highlighted for me when they teased this big event that was going to happen on Sunday afternoon of the last day of the demo, and then what it turned out to be was like they had a skybox change. You could see a big old storm in the sky that was like spitting out fireballs, and then like there were some, like, they're called Ash Titans. They're big old like fire.
Yeah, some Titans were roaming the free world.
They were roaming the free world, which they weren't there before, and they dropped cool gear, but like they teased it as like this cool, compelling endgame content. So I was expecting there to be like missions, like people having to swarm these mission points, and like there's going to be some like frenetic, this like frantic, frenetic, like exciting thing. And really it was just like, oh, there's some bigger monsters out there, which again, that's something that does have potential in and of itself. But I think that's what I kind of landed on my way here, is I was like, Anthem is a game with a lot of potential. It has a lot of potential with the gear. It has a lot of potential with the content. It has a lot of potential with the classes, the javelins. Like, you could add more like, there's so many things they can do. But with that potential for being good, it has a lot of potential for being bad too. So I think I'm gonna buy it, only because I have a friend. I might wait a couple weeks just to let them hammer out that first
launch day might be a little
shaky. So I might let them kind of hammer out some of those initial issues, and then get it a week or two in. My son's probably going to be born by then, so God knows I'm not going to be chomping at the bit to do anything. Right. But I am interested in playing it only because I have at least one friend who is committed to playing it with me. And I think that's my clincher. Like, I think that the game is only going to be worth the $60 price tag if you have someone who can play it with you regularly. And otherwise, I think the potential for it to be bad is just too high. Because I had a really frustrating time with Destiny. I liked Destiny's concept. I liked the gameplay. I liked the loot. I liked the way the classes worked. I liked a lot of core things about Destiny, but it was the way that you were expected to do content that frustrated me. And I can see those same problems being a huge potential in Anthem.
I agree. And so I don't agree. I mean, I agree that you should not buy it day one, that you should wait. I'm going to wait. What I wanted, and I've said this before, maybe on this podcast, I'm not sure, is if they came out and said there is 30 hours of guaranteed single-player content, I'd be in day one. Like, yep, sure. I'm going to sit on my couch and I'm going to play 90% of this game by myself. And I will have fun with friends when the planets align and our lives and schedules can line up, that I can jump on with some friends and play. And we'll have a great time doing those side things like strongholds or those dailies or those weeklies that you're supposed to, quote, grind. When it comes to story, that's where I'm at. I want story. I want all of those things. I want to know why I'm in a javelin. I want to know the world of the Tarsus thing, and like, so we'll see. We have this weird, like I said, branch that came out in July. The final game could look drastically different. It might not. Maybe that's why they still called it a demo. Maybe because it really is closer to our representative of what we're going to get. We'll see. It was fun. It was a good time.
All right, 20 minutes in of just reviewing Anthem, so let's move on to the next couple segments we have. So let's do a really quick... Doing this podcast is our favorite thing. Doing this podcast is our favorite thing. Favorite things is this one's going to be quick. It's a quick time for us to update you on the things that we're digging this week in hopes that you might find something that you can dig this week. So my favorite thing this week is, I think I talked about a podcast last week. I've also found another great podcast. So I'm like just doubling up back to back on podcasts. My other favorite podcast is a podcast called The End of the World, and it's all about existential risks to the human race. So it's just a 10-episode podcast. Like, there's not, as far as I know, he's not planning another season. It's from one of the co-hosts of How Stuff Works, of Stuff You Should Know, specifically. And it's about existential risk. So he talks about artificial intelligence. He talks about bioengineering. He talks about the Fermi paradox, the idea of, like, if the universe is so big and so old, then why are we alone in intelligent, like, why are we the only observable intelligence that we know about thus far? So he just talks about all that stuff. It's really, really interesting stuff. Kind of like, it's both depressing and inspiring. It's like kind of weird ambivalence in that regard, but you guys check it out. End of the World by Josh Clark. It's really good. So,
all right, sweet. My favorite thing is for Christmas, I'm still going back. I'm actually dipping back to Christmas gifts because I had so many.
Months.
I know. It's fantastic. I got so much cool stuff. My wife got me and my son matching colorful socks. And
Nice.
it's awesome. So, of course, we show up at church with matching socks. And he runs around and he's extremely excited. I got the same socks as Daddy.
Aww.
It's so cute, adorable. And they're super colorful, so I can wear them at work instead of my old, like, gold-colored, boring socks. I now have cool, colorful socks.
Nice.
Yeah, so that's my favorite thing.
Cool. All right. And then next segment is DLC. Downloadable content is sort of a fun mini discussion, usually has something to do with the topic that we're talking about. So since we're talking about digital stores today, I wanted to kind of do an exercise of imagination for DLC. And so our DLC today is going to be inspired by that. And since digital stores have allowed us to have digital media, things like movies and music and now video games for the past few years, we've been able to just download copies of them and we don't have to have physical copies. I wanted to kind of take that idea and apply it to other products and things that you use in your daily life. So I want you to imagine, if the technology were sophisticated enough, what is a product that you interact with on the daily that you would want a digital version of? I have one if you want to take some time to think.
Sure.
Okay. So I think that if, again, we're talking about sophisticated enough technology, and I think that if they had a technology where basically it could, like, trick your brain into thinking that something has weight, then having basically, like, hollow weights to work out with, you could basically, like, again, you could download different things, like, oh, I want to, I could just sort of like, let's adjust this up by just like half a pound. Like, okay, this isn't quite giving me the workout I want. Like, I'm going to just bump it up a couple pounds. Like, you just push a button on the thing.
So you're just sitting in your desk doing curls with nothing in your hand.
Yeah, you don't have weights that you could drop and hurt yourself with because it's just essentially light. Or more than that, it's just electrical impulses, like, feeding to your brain, and then you could download different programs. And you know what? They wouldn't even have to be weights. You could download a program to make it so that it's a sword, and you could do sword play without actually risking hurting yourself or others. Like, you could download it.
It's funny that you went to the physical fitness world, because I was brainstorming in that about what I could do in the physical. Anyway,
yeah, you could totally. But you could just download programs. You could have, again, it really could be anything. Like, anything you think of. Like, you wouldn't need, like, a giant Bowflex in your home, because you could basically just download a program that tricks your brain into thinking you have the same resistance happening, because that's what all that weight is. You hear all these things about people who could just, like, I don't know, because they have, like, neurological disorders that cause them to flex their muscles, where they end up getting super strong.
Yeah.
Because they just keep flexing their muscles. So the actual act of the weight doesn't matter. The only thing that matters about the actual weight of the object you're trying to lift is that your muscles engage to meet that resistance. Right. So if your brain was tricked into thinking that there was resistance, then your muscles would still be engaging in the same way they would. And therefore I think I would have way more fun working out with hollow technology, I think, than real stuff. So I don't know. That was the one that came to my mind.
Well, I'm going to throw a wrench into your DLC and I'm going to termite it. I'm going to reverse it. I'm going to take something from the digital world that I wish was physical.
Oh, okay. All right.
And I wish that my trophy collection existed in a room that I could walk into and touch my platinum trophies.
Yes.
And caress my gold trophies.
Your accomplishments, yeah.
And reflect on my silver trophies, and then bathe in my bronze trophies.
See, you'd basically, if they were worth anything as collector's items in the future, then like when you die, your kids could sell them and make a profit.
It's funny you mentioned
They can't do that
because I kind of sort of jokingly but not really told my brother I would really, really love to have my trophy count on my gravestone. No, I'm sorry, not on my gravestone. That's too permanent. At my funeral, you know how they have the plaques of like the pictures and the, you know, in your funeral, right? When people come to see you, there's all this stuff about you. If you wrote something, usually there's like a page from that thing you wrote or like that thing you created.
Sure.
I want my trophy count and its breakdown allocation just somewhere on like a trifold.
Just make sure to
like,
include
board.
that in your will, so that way legally people are bound to.
That is a fantastic idea. Force people to do it, so they're legally bound.
Yeah, you know, one of the great things about dying is making sure that you inconvenience your family and friends one last time. So that's
one last time.
Just
relax, have a drink with me.
All right. So that's DLC for the day. We can now move on to our main topic: digital stores. We talk a lot about physical stores. We already had like 2 separate podcasts.
We
on
did
physical stores.
Mm-hmm. And in both of those podcasts, we touched on the idea that digital sales are increasing.
So
we're going to talk about that side of things.
Yeah, so we want to talk about that side of things. Not only that side of things, but there's also been some kind of controversies recently related to digital stores that we want to talk about. By the time this airs, who knows? Maybe they, with the way the news cycles are, they may have flip-flopped on this already. So hopefully this isn't out-of-date information. But we wanted to hit on what's happening kind of now as much as possible. So given that we tend to record a little bit ahead of the news cycles. But all right, so digital stores. I mean, what are digital stores? More importantly, what are the major digital stores that people are familiar with? And kind of, I mean, how do digital stores differ from physical stores?
Right. So digital stores are going to be anywhere you can buy a game digitally. Right. Which means you buy a license to a game that's tied to your account in some way. That's what that actually means. And then you get to download a copy of the game and play it on your respective systems.
Yeah, so, unlike physical stores that have mom and pop versions, as we've talked about, before. There's none of those. I mean, there's no like little guy digital stores. There are digital stores that are smaller than others, but these are major, companies.
And we'll get into some of the nuances of the little remind me to come back on that.
Okay, yeah.
The smaller digital stores, because they do exist, and they do something fun that's interesting you can't really do in physical, but yeah, we'll talk on it. So like, you can kind of, the big split is console PC. And that's the obvious split. So within the console space, you got Nintendo, Sony, and Microsoft. They each have their consoles, the Switch, the PlayStation, and the Xbox.
Right.
And the Xbox/Microsoft is a little nuanced because their exclusive games are also Windows.
Right, you can only Windows 10.
Right.
So it has to be the latest platform.
So like Nintendo Switch has their eShop.
It is PC and it is Xbox, Microsoft store.
We'll talk about PC in a minute.
Sure.
Xbox does have their own store. So Nintendo Switch has the eShop, and that's Nintendo Switch exclusive. So everything you buy there is going to be usable on Nintendo platforms. The 3DS is also linked to the eShop. You can get 3DS games there.
The Nintendo eShop used to be a lot more convoluted too, because it had Wii U games and it
DSiWare.
had DS games, and sometimes you could find yourself accidentally purchasing a DS game when you meant to buy on your Wii U. So it
used to be a mess.
Convoluted. Yeah, it's a huge mess.
And so they all have their pros and cons.
Yep.
Sony's is very straightforward, and I'd probably say the argument the best one.
Yeah.
You go into Sony's store and you buy Sony PlayStation games, and that's it. Like, and most of the time, if a game is available on Vita, it's cross-buy. So if you buy the PS4 version and it's also on Vita, you get that free.
Yep.
They do the same thing with PS3 sometimes. If the game is available for one platform, you buy it once, you get it for everything. They do the best with that.
Right. I never see, unlike the Nintendo eShop, or at least how Nintendo eShop used to be, I never see like PS3 games pop up on my PS4.
Yeah. Like if you go to a sale, it's like a flash sale, and you just scroll through everything that's on sale. There'll be PS3 games there.
I have seen that before.
And you'll get them on the PS4 only if it's available.
Gotcha.
So there are exclusive PS3 games that
does it
when you
warn
buy
you? Does it say like, hey, you're buying this on a PS? We notice you're buying this on a PS4.
It doesn't know.
Okay,
but it's there. It's kind of obvious.
Yeah, okay,
it's like
fair enough.
Consoles P3, but and then you have
I can see someone making that mistake. Honestly, I can see myself making that mistake.
Really?
Like I mean, not now because I'm a little bit more conscientious about anything I purchase. Like in the past, I can see myself in my past with digital games. I can see myself like impulsively buying a game only then to realize it was a PS3 game. I've never actually done that, but I can see myself doing that. I guess. Yeah. Anyways, go on.
And you have the Xbox Store, which if you're on an Xbox console, then you can buy Xbox games. You'll get them right there. It's pretty straightforward. It's easy. But there's that caveat to where if you buy it on Xbox and it's also available on Windows 10, they do a cross-buy type thing.
Yeah.
And then Microsoft has... So then we're going to talk about subscription services. Nintendo does not... Well, yeah, yes, it does now. It has one. So all three also have subscription services that are slightly different. Instead of buying a specific title at a specific price, you pay yearly or monthly, and then you get access to a library of stuff.
Yep.
So Nintendo has the NES library that allows you to play NES games online, multiplayer, which is fun. PlayStation has their PlayStation Now, which is their backwards compatibility kind of solution where you get some PS4, PS3, and PS2 games streamed from some server.
Yep.
And then Xbox has their streaming service, Game Pass, where you pay monthly and you get access to their full games. And that's just the console space.
Yeah, that's just the console space. But we're not actually going to be focusing too much on the console space right now because much to Termite's chagrin here, what's actually happening on the PC space is going to be way more interesting to talk
those
about.
Those boxes that can do your taxes.
Yep, those tax boxes. Those tax boxes you haven't dusted off in a while.
So in the PC realm, the biggest contenders are Battle.net, EA Origin, and Steam. Steam's probably the biggest one.
Right, with Epic Games' new
Epic Games is
launcher.
New to the scene.
Yeah,
it's coming on.
Yeah, they're new to the scene, but again, they're coming in with a huge investment due to Fortnite, basically.
Yeah, right.
So, but yeah, I mean, really, the king of the PC gaming digital space has been and continues to be Steam. They have an entire, what sets Steam apart right now is that, and we'll be talking more about this, is what sets Steam apart is it's an entire platform. You download Steam for free, and without even purchasing a game, you have access to cloud saves, you have access to community resources, forums, you have access to a free voice over IP,
friends list, chat.
Yeah, exactly.
You can create clans and groups. Battle.net has similar systems in place just by installing Battle.net without buying any games. And so that's the thing that distinguishes, to me, is the biggest separation between, like, if you have a PlayStation, your friends list and your communities and your groups and clans, they're all governed by the PlayStation operating system. And so, like, it's not really tied to the digital store. Or on a PC, those things are tied to each individual store.
Exactly.
So
it has to be, because what other platform would you tie it to?
Exactly.
Windows?
Right.
Would you tie? But then what about Mac people?
And Linux.
Mac and exactly.
Right.
Like, so it kind
of makes sense.
Yeah,
I understand
exactly.
why it's the way that it is.
Right.
But then I have a Steam friends list, I have a Battle.net friends list, and I have an EA Origins friends list, and then I have a game library that exists in each three things.
Yeah.
And I have my community and my resources and all that stuff, achievements and etc. Cloud saves and all that are separate between the three pillars of those three big contenders.
Right. So normally, in my experience with it, it normally isn't really it wasn't a problem in the past, because some of those launchers or whatever that are tied to a specific developer, again, their games aren't even available. Like, you can't have Diablo or you can't have Overwatch on Steam at all.
Right.
So I have to have the Battle.net launcher for that.
Right.
So it's not really a problem if my friends list is a little bit different, because my friends who I'm playing Battle.net games with, I'm not necessarily playing Steam with. And the ones I'm playing both with, I'll have probably gone out of my way to friend them on both.
Yeah.
Where it gets frustrating is now you're seeing a situation happen where you could theoretically have a game that's available on Steam, but you might have it on a different platform, and then you might not have the same resources and by resources I mean like friends and stuff like that available on that platform. So that's where it's starting to get muddy, is like now you're starting to see competitors, i.e. Epic Games, to Steam, that you could feasibly have a game that's available on both, but you've bought it on a different platform, and now you just don't have access to all those resources.
And I know, like, the Battlefield games in the past have done that with EA Origin and Steam, and they've kind of circumvented that by having you log into your EA account. And when you do that, brings into your EA friends list, which is mirrored to your EA Origin client. And so you kind of handle that in-game, which is kind of how consoles do it. Yeah. It's all in-game.
Yeah.
Even though it's linked to your PlayStation or Xbox or Switch stuff, it's like your friends list is there and you can see it from the game.
Yeah. Why are digital stores becoming more and more popular, and why and how are they competing with one another? So we'll answer that second one next, but we'll start with why are digital stores becoming more and more popular? Why are we seeing this competition?
I want to talk about that they are becoming more popular and what that looks like. The UK video game sales are now 80%, 20% split. 80% of all video game sales in the UK are digital. And part of that is, if you look at the entire video game industry in the UK, that's what they've done. They take the entire industry, so that you don't look at like the behemoth of Fortnite that takes up the 60%. I don't know what the actual percentage chunk that like Fortnite would take up, but that's free to play and only available digitally. So if you look like, oh, the gaming industry made X dollars, well, X percent of that was Fortnite. Fortnite's 100% digital, so it's kind of skewed a little bit. So when I say 80% of their entire industry is digital, it's true, but there's like whales, so to speak, of digital titles that are kind of pushing the statistics. So, statistics you can make them say whatever you want. So, I'm trying to be honest and upfront, but the fact that 80% of the revenue that UK is making from video game sales are digital, and that matters. Like, that's okay. There's
people are looking at that and they're going, oh, that matters. Like, that's important. Yeah.
Sales from digital video games continue to rise around 25% each year as statistics sheets come out, like, constantly every year. They're seeing a growth in the PlayStation Network, the eShop, the Xbox, the Steam, everywhere. You're seeing a growth in digital media, and you're seeing a decline in physical media.
Right.
And I'll link off to some pages that I've used for statistics. We don't have to get into those facts.
Right. I mean, I've said it. I talked a lot about the old guard of players on the podcast before, of which we consider ourselves among those ranks. And I've said it before, I really think that we are the ones really keeping physical media alive. But as soon as these Gen Z kids who have grown up, all they've known is digital.
Right.
All they've known is, the games they grew up on were downloading Angry Birds off their parents' phones. You know what I mean? Like, they don't interface with games the same way that we do. I feel like once they get jobs and start having expendable income, and they're the driving force behind the economy, the gaming economy, like bye physical games. We're no longer going to be catered to.
Look at the music industry. There's like, who listens to CDs anymore?
It's true. Yeah,
it almost is entirely
and
digital.
We're all okay with it.
Right.
Like
it just happened.
Yeah,
and
there were some old fogies who were, I want my vinyls.
And those people still exist.
Yeah,
vinyls are different. I mean, I think cassette tapes, CDs are just
because they were all plastic garbage,
and they were like digitized versions of music, whereas vinyls are the literal analog version. So it's a little bit that's nuanced.
Sure.
Yeah.
But
then you have movies, and we used to have VCR players, and now DVDs and Blu-ray, and that's kind of on the decline. If you think about, like, I love Blu-rays because that's how you get the best quality. Period. Like visual quality and sound quality, you have to get. You can't get to that quality fidelity over streaming. But if I just look at the amount of things that I watch and look at the percentage of that's digital streaming versus Blu-ray,
most
Blu-rays are super minor. Like every now and again I pop in a movie and watch it on Blu-ray or get a Redbox.
Yeah.
Most of everything that I watch is Netflix, HBO. I don't have Hulu, but it's like it's a streaming service. And so we're almost there as a culture with movies entirely digital.
Right. So gaming is lagging behind in that regard, but the industry wants
and the only thing I can think of that is making the gaming industry a little slower is the expense. I think because video games are $60, we want the ability to sell it back, trade it in, or let friends borrow
it. Yeah, I mean,
music is so cheap. $10 for an album. If you really like this artist, you're just gonna buy it. Like, it's an impulse. $10 is nothing.
Right.
A movie or a subscription service is $10 a month for Netflix, or it's $13 or $14 now.
Right.
You almost don't feel it.
Yeah.
With those $60 hits that come out, you do feel it.
Right.
And so I think that's kind of the prohibiting factor for it to be ubiquitously digital.
Yeah, I don't know though. I mean, and we'll get into this. Like, if you look at, there is a really cheap way to buy games, and honestly, the time that I spent as a gamer buying I got the most quantity of quality games was when I was exclusively a Steam player.
Yeah.
Because
those Steam sales are nuts.
Digital and we'll end up getting more into this as we get into the controversies. Like, the capability of digital copies of games, you can discount them so much and still make a profit as a publisher because you're not paying for manufacturing. So, like, again, yes, as players, we do kind of want to get something physical out of it. So, like we said, so we can subsidize it by trading it in.
Yeah.
The reality is, if you're just willing to be a little patient, you can often get a better deal by just getting a digital game that you'll then have forever in your library.
Yeah, I mean, even the flash sales that happen on the consoles are, I've gotten a couple of impulse buys.
Yeah, for sure.
And then this goes into that. Remember, I said earlier to remind me of the nuances of the PC ones. There are these little, like, small mom and pop shops online, like Green Man Gaming, and I wouldn't even call Humble small. Humble Bundle.
Sure,
Humble Bundles are nuts. Yeah. And those, like, you get a whole pack of games for, like, whatever you want to donate.
Right, and it's like charity.
There's a threshold of, like, if you donate more than $15, you get all of these
Humble's
games.
interesting because it's
the funny part is they give you a key for a platform. So that's why they're like, they're not really PC exclusive because they have PlayStation sales, Nintendo sales. and then Steam sales, Windows 10 key, and so like you just buy the keys and they email them to you. And
yeah, for those of you who don't know what Humble Bundle is, like who are listening, who maybe not be gamers or not really understand like PC, the PC culture. Humble Bundle is a company that they sell games, but like what percentage of it? It's a large percentage of their proceeds all go to charity. So like the whole point is like, yeah, you can get games for fairly cheap and know that a lot of your money is actually going to charity.
Right.
So obviously you would want to research what they support before you necessarily buy them if it doesn't line up with you. But nevertheless, I think it's a pretty cool idea of like get games on the cheap and also for like a good cause. That's what their whole business model is based off of. One
of my other favorite, I know like I'm not a PC guy, but my favorite PC store that does things is goodoldgames.com. And what this company has done has chased down old PC games that no longer have the same company's representation. Because, like, a game is made by a certain developer. That developer's got rights for X years. Copyrights go to the publisher. They have that over the IP ownership, for X years. Well, all that lapses. And then all the people that were involved scatter out to different companies. So there's no one location that you can get the rights to, like, Descent anymore.
Yeah.
So what Good Old Games does is chase down all the people and make all the legal, like, everything. They just go, that's their life. They go do that, and they get the rights to a game, and then they sell it to us.
Yep.
And they wrap it in a nice little bow, like DOSBox, which is a DOS emulator, so it works, and all we got to do is buy it and download it and play it. And we get games like Hexen and the original Doom. And Doom is id software, but old computer games, we get them now, and then they even go the farther efforts to get the manuals and the books and the box art and like send all that to you, soundtracks and stuff. Like they're awesome. So if you don't know Good Old Games, go check them out. GOG.com. Yep. I frequently, even now today, like go through and like,
cool.
Do I want to get this old game? This is cool.
That's cool.
So that's a unique like PC game store.
Cool. Well, we keep talking about this controversy. We keep talking about this thing that's happening. So here's where we'll talk about it. So we're going to answer the question, how and why are all these platforms popping up and how are they competing with one another? So this is where we get to talk about Epic Games. So Epic Games, the creators of Fortnite.
Also the creators of the Unreal Engine.
They recently came out and decided they're going to start their own digital video game platform. And they call it Epic Games Store, not surprisingly. And what this platform is it was quite obvious from the get-go that it was direct competition with Steam. So let's start first and talk about how these platforms compete with one another. So you have two stores now. You have Steam and you have Epic Games. How do those two stores plan on competing with each other when their business models are both the same? Sell games, sell licenses to other people's games.
Epic has started off the gate as being just a shell. You buy a game on the PC and you launch it through our store.
Yep.
That's it. That's all you get. So where Steam, we talked about, has chat, friends lists, game library, achievements, communities,
it's
forums,
an entire platform, not just a
Epic
store
Games
and a launcher.
Is just a store and a launcher. So it's buy this game and launch it, and that's
through our platform,
The biggest benefit to the Epic Games Store is that they only take 12% of the game sale total for themselves, and the rest goes to the developers and the publishers.
They're competing with the cut they take. So
and Steam takes 30%.
Steam is it's well known that maybe not well known, but it's a documented fact that Steam will take 30% of the cut of every game sold.
Right.
Which is admittedly a very huge amount of money that you're talking about. So that's one of the biggest ways that Epic Games has come out of the gate and said, we're going to compete. We're going to less than half of what you would get from Steam. Sorry, less than half of what Steam would take. We're going to take less than half of that, or 12%. So
if you're a publisher or developer, suddenly Epic Games Store looks ridiculously appealing,
super attractive.
And you can do what you want with those savings. You can invest in better games. You can pass the savings down to the player. All the savings are going to change things. This is changing the landscape of digital sales.
It's absolutely changing. And so then the other way how that trickles down, how the competition sort of exacerbates from that point on, is now we're starting to see exclusives. So now in these digital stores on PC games, again, because we're not even talking about the consoles. This doesn't even matter for the consoles, because many of these games are going to already come out on consoles anyways and be available through the consoles digital stores. And Sony, Xbox, Nintendo are going to take whatever cut they take. So this is only the PC game space. We're talking about a very relatively small subset of the gaming population anyways. But now there's going to be exclusives in that space. So the biggest news in that regard, we're going to link off to tons of articles that are talking about this week, because it happened just this week for us. Metro Exodus, developed by a developer called Deep Silver. Deep Silver just announced this week that Metro Exodus was from now on only going to be available on Epic Games launcher. So they're going after that 12% cut. They're going after that. And so the math works out for Deep Silver, because Deep Silver, they're only going to lose 12% of their cut from each sale. But because of that, they're actually able to reduce the game's price to $50 and still make a profit. They're going to be making $43 off of every sale of Metro Exodus, whereas on Steam at full price, $60, they would be making $41.
Right.
So they're going to be making $2 more per sale on Metro Exodus than they would if they kept it on Steam.
Right.
Here's where it's complicated. It was already available for months on Steam for pre-order.
Right. Yeah.
So all these people who pre-ordered it on Steam, Deep Silver has come out and said, hey, we're going to honor those sales. But that just muddies the water even more, because now the game's going to exist as a Steam version, but it's not going to be available for download or purchase through Steam on day one and for the first I've heard this first year thing. I've heard that after a year, their exclusivity will expire.
Right.
And it'll be available on Steam. I haven't actually been able to see that documented, but that's what I've heard floating around. But nevertheless, so there's going to be a Steam version. They're like, we're going to patch it through Steam. You're going to have all the updates and DLC.
If you bought the gold edition, you get all the extra DLC packs you paid for in Steam. It's weird.
So both versions are going to exist, but one's going to be completely locked away from you because of this exclusivity deal with Epic Games. So that's where the controversy lies, is you have tons. So Termite and I just talking about this today as we were coming up with this topic. He said all I've heard is good things about this. All I've heard is this is innovation. This is the competition is great for this space, because now we're going to be able to see they'll be able to pass on those savings to the players.
Right.
But all I've seen, and a lot of this, again, everything I've seen about it on Reddit, I feel like browsing through Reddit today was either two things. It was either yay Kingdom Hearts 3 or boo, this crap with we're in support of Valve, we're in support of Steam, this crap that Epic Games is pulling is ridiculous. They're just trying to throw their Fortnite money around, and it's negatively affecting players. So I've seen only negative things about it. So it seems to be this very controversial move on the part of Epic Games.
Yeah, I'll defend my point. I am for all of this. This is amazing for the digital community, because Steam is a behemoth, and they've kind of, outside of Battle.net and a little bit of that slice that EA has.
Right, Bethesda has their own launcher too, but it's all exclusive games that wouldn't be available on Steam anyways. Yeah.
So Steam is kind of a monopoly in this space. And everything you want, you have to go through Steam. Whether you buy it at Green Man Gaming and you get a Steam key, you get a Humble Bundle, you get a Steam key. Everything requires Steam, which has just put a lot of power in their hands. So what Epic has done, and I think this is a smart move, is we're going to take some of this money we have and we're going to invest in a store, and we're going to challenge this system, and we're going to allow the developers and the publishers to save some money in the process. And they can do with the extra money what they want. They can invest in newer games. They can pass the savings to the player. And in this situation, they're lowering the cost of the game by $50. But Epic's not cheap either. So they're giving away free games. One of them is free for almost the entire month of February, is Axiom Verge, which is an amazing indie game. And so it's a quality game. It's something that people would want. So they're doing things free from the last half of January. Was the Jackbox Party Pack, which is a pretty popular.
Subnautica was also free, which is a super popular game.
Legit stuff. And they're getting good title games. They're getting the final season of The Walking Dead, the Telltale series, despite Telltale going out of business. They're getting The Division 2. So publishers and Darksiders 3, THQ Nordic's in there. I'm just going through the list of stuff. Of course, Fortnite's there because they own it. Journey is coming soon to the Epic Game Store, so they're getting good games.
Yeah,
so
one
of the problems with the Steam library is if you look at what's available to purchase, there's 1 million every day. There's a ridiculous amount. It's almost like the App Store in iTunes and in the Google Play Store on your phone. There's trash games getting onto Steam every single day. And they've most recently, leading up to this controversy, said, we're not going to filter or censor it anymore. So you can publish whatever you want. So you're getting child porn, Japanese rape games on there, and these creepy, nasty things. as well as ridiculously bad, cheap, terrible games that don't even need to be. And there's a similar problem on the PlayStation Network store too, so I don't want to disqualify them. Like, they're still in the crap hole. But like, now Epic's coming out and challenging the whole system.
Right. Okay. So
that's my perspective.
I will disagree, and not because your points are invalid, but I think that the flip side of that is. So number one, let's hit the platform itself. Epic Games platform is garbage. It's garbage. It's a shell.
New.
It's a shell.
I wouldn't say it's garbage.
I would just say if they really, really intend to compete in the space, they have to compete in the space, because even the other competitive launchers that have sold their exclusive games, such as Battle.net, they have that robust set of features that Steam does. They have a friends list. They have cloud saves. Like, come on, Epic Games. Cloud saves is like the most important thing that players care about, in a platform. They have voice over IP systems. They have that kind of stuff. So if Epic Games is serious, they need to improve the platform.
But I have a counterpoint.
Hold on, I'm not done.
All right.
So the other point you brought up was all the garbage, Steam's, green light, whatever. Like, one would argue that their support of the indie game space is still really important. Steam, Nintendo is kind of starting to edge in on that space a little bit too.
But Nintendo curates their eShop.
Sure, but what I mean is the indie game movement, no matter what comes out of it, good or bad, is still super important for the industry. Period. Steam is the number one biggest supporter of indie games, period. And so I think that, sure, Steam can improve. Steam has some things they can improve upon, but they need to, I think it's still important that they don't censor that space, because it's important to let creators create. And all that's to say, I do still think competition is healthy. I do still think that someone, rattling Steam's chains is important. I think that Steam might be. I don't know how Steam's business works, but that 30% cut is a little deep. So they could probably afford to lower the gouging that they do with games sales. And but I think about people have a loyalty to their brand. Honestly, I don't want to have 6 different launchers installed on my thing and have to juggle my friends list between a bunch of platforms.
Oh, just get a PlayStation.
Right, but I've got friends. I've got more friends than just you, Termite. I've got friends who only play games on PC, and I don't want to have to be like, oh, do you have this game on this platform? No, I'm sorry, I have it on this other platform. Well, crap, sorry, we can't play together. That sucks. So I would say that if more important than the cross-platform movement on console space, I think that, if there's Borderlands 3, for example, comes out and it's available on all the consoles, and then it's also available on PC, but the PC version is available on Epic, and it's also available on Steam, and I don't know if I'll be able to play cross-platform on those platforms if one of my friends buys it on Epic and I buy it on Steam. You know what I mean? So that's where it gets muddy and complicated, is the PC gamers are almost kind of segregated enough, to segregate them further would be crappy. So I just think that, I don't know, I wonder if these platforms can do things like link your friends list to Facebook or something, or some other third-party platform where your friends are already going to be. Right. And you can just download your friends list to either. You can even maybe say in Facebook, I want to make this people into a group of, these are my gamer friends. And then you just have to click a button and say, boop. Now all my gamer friends are imported to Steam. Now all my gamer friends are imported to Epic. Yeah. And more of that kind of sharing across the platforms.
Brings back my point that I was going to make earlier. You were like, hey, let me finish. Was maybe the savings that a publisher has by going through Epic or other competitors that might creep up like Epic, instead of going through Steam, they can save money. They would take something like Exodus, if it was Metro Exodus, if it was multiplayer, and build that for that game. And be like, here, okay, you're going to get it through Epic. Epic doesn't have a friends list, but our game does. And our game will go to your Steam account, will go to your Origin account,
pull it.
and do all that in the game. Yeah. So it doesn't. So you're actually masking that whole launcher system. It's like, I'm just going to launch Metro.
It's literally just a port, like a gateway.
Yeah. And they would have the resources to do that because they would save the money. And so that's just one possible avenue. I mean, it's nothing concrete at all. That's complete speculation.
Yeah. I mean, as of right now, it's going to be, at least in the short term, 4 games that are on both platforms. And honestly, I do think that it was kind of crappy ultimately. Whether the decision was made by Deep Silver, whether the decision was made by THQ Nordic, who owns them, whether it was made by, I've even heard it go all the way to the top of the Koch brothers or whatever, the Koch brothers or whatever, who own THQ Nordic or whatever. But no matter who the buck falls on, who made the decision, at the end of the day, at the end of the day, they already screwed over a bunch of people who pre-ordered it on Steam.
Right, that's kind of shady.
Like honestly, the right decision for them would be to say, okay, we'll do it with our next game, but this one, like we have an obligation to our players who want to play it on the platform that they purchased it on.
Yeah.
Granted, I know they're supporting it, but still, there's a lot of people who are probably waiting. You know, a lot of wise players out there who are Steam loyalists who are waiting to buy it to see what the reviews were, who would buy it within the first week, but we're just kind of waiting to see how the game panned out. I think it's a wise choice to now punish them for that. Is kind of crappy because there are people out there who are like, we're not going to buy it now. That's available exclusively on, and that's where this is going to be the big experiment. So I'm still really intrigued by this because I want to see in 5 months how are Metro Exodus' sales going to be. Will they have made a profit, saving $2 on each sale?
I mean, $2 times 10 million.
I get it, but you know what I mean? $2. That's if they sell 10 million because now if they only sell 3 million. They're going to make less money than they would if they just kept it on Steam.
Right. If that metric, whatever the payoff is.
So it's going to...
You have the physical and digital across the consoles too.
Sure. But, my point still remains. Like, they stand... As much as they stand to gain from this deal, they stand to lose it as well. And because, again, the cost that doesn't seem like these people understand sometimes, the cost in, like, player loyalty, the cost in, like, goodwill towards your consumers... Yeah. Is sometimes more than the actual money.
The only
that you
shady
stand
aspect of this whole deal is the fact that it existed on Steam prior to with pre-orders and stuff, which means Deep Silver has the knowledge of how many pre-orders they've gotten already from Steam.
Yeah.
So they know what that figure is. They know exactly how many people are going to buy it on Steam and how much money they're going to get from that, and still made this decision to go with the 12% cut on Epic Games, knowing they were cutting off the rest of their Steam
but what
sales.
they're counting on, again, this whole deal relies on day one sales. This whole deal relies on how much money are they going to make from day one or week one sales through the Epic Game Store. Yeah. Because especially if there's any veracity to that claim about the year long deal and it being back on Steam in a year, you bet there's going to be people who are just going to wait a year and buy it on Steam.
Right.
So the success, and it's going to, and then by then it'll be on sale as well. You know what I mean? So they'll even make even less money.
But I tell you, Epic Games doesn't really need to do much. That 12% cut, man, like anything new, any PC game developer publisher could just easily go to Epic Games and be like, I don't care about supporting the players' friends lists and their achievements and platforms and cloud saves. Let the developers do that internally.
Right, but there's a cost. I mean, when we talk about this in my job too, customer service can have a bigger cost than simply the amount that you save on any given deal. Like if you and that's what I'm saying is that's what these people don't seem to understand is like. Sure, you'll save money in the short term or you'll make more money in the short term, but the long-term cost of this kind of crap that you pull on players is you're going to lose loyalty, and loyalty in this industry matters so much more than anything else because it's loyalty that sold a bajillion copies of Red Dead Redemption 2 because people trust Rockstar, people trust that brand. And it's that same loyalty that has lost a bajillion dollars, it seems like, for EA, because EA has lost that trust. And that trust is worth more, I think, than anything else in this modern industry.
A behemoth of an IP like Assassin's Creed, you're like, we're going to the Epic Games Store. Sorry, Ubisoft, we're doing that. And they just pull, so whatever the next Assassin's Creed is after Odyssey is exclusively on the Epic Games sale. That means 100% of their sales are coming out of Epic Games. And people will go get Epic Games Store and download that game because they want to play it.
I mean, again, but I would make the argument
that's like
100%. Okay, sorry.
That's like
50% of 1,000 is 500. 100% of 300 is 300. You know what I mean? Like if the 100, it doesn't matter how many percentage of people buy the game. If you have fewer people buying it because of some stupid business move.
But I don't think any gamer is going to say, I'm not going to play this game because it's only available on the Epic Game Store. That would be
I think most gamers would probably just say, oh, this game that I would have bought on PC is available on Epic. Oh, I'm going to just go play it on PlayStation instead.
And they would still get the money. So what's to lose? It'd be like saying Target comes out and says, we're going to be the sole seller of the next Call of Duty game. You have to buy it from Target. That would not affect their sales at all. It would just boost Target sales. Like everyone would just go to Target and buy it. Like there's no difference whether you're getting it from Steam. Like if it's a new game, the only reason this is muddy is because of the pre-order, the pre-release campaign of Metro all the way up through Steam, and now they're cutting that cord, and that's bad. And I understand that loyalty problem, but going forward, big franchises If they just jump to Epic Games, there's nothing Steam can do. Like, they're going to lose customers because people are not going to not buy the game.
Sure. I think there are people who are not going to buy the game because of the platform.
I don't think so.
There's games there's only a handful of games that if they were announced to be exclusive on Epic Games Store, that I would buy them over not having them. Because
so all your friends said, okay, Anthem's moving to the Epic Games Store, we're all going to buy it. And you'd be like, nope, sorry, I'm not going to buy it.
It doesn't have a friends list, so how would I know what my friends are anyway?
It would be in the game.
We don't know that, though. You're speaking about a hypothetical.
It could be.
I'm speaking about what is physically there right now.
Yeah.
And I've said this. I've said this on multiple things. If Epic can improve their platform, I don't have loyalty to Valve for the sake of them being Valve. Mm-hmm. They're the owners of Steam.
Right.
I have loyalty to Steam because the platform is excellent. The platform is exceptional.
Right.
They've made improvements over time to all of their
You have
portions.
an argument against me that you haven't used yet. I'm really surprised.
What's that?
You have a fire sword.
Tell me of my fire sword.
Just send it into my heart. And that is, why the crap did you buy Sonic Mania on PS4 and not the Nintendo Switch?
Yeah, why did you do that?
Trophies. I will go out of my way to buy games on PS4 because of trophies. Yeah. However, I don't not buy Mario because it doesn't have trophies.
Right.
And so, I mean, that's kind of like your platform argument makes sense. It's like, I don't want to, if the game is available on both platforms, I'm not going to buy it on Epic Games because it doesn't track my cloud saves and my gaming history list, achievements, etc. Where if it's only available on Epic Games, like Mario's only available on Nintendo stuff, you're still going to go get it.
Yeah. I just think that, like, there's a handful of features that I think that Epic Games needs to include in their store if they really want to compete in this space. Because as of right now, it's just a launcher.
Right.
Like, clouds, I would say the big ones are friends list, cloud saves, and voice over IP. Mm-hmm. Like, if they include those things, achievements, like forum stuff,
that would at least, like,
nice.
what do you call, like, grease the skis?
Yeah.
That would help.
It would certainly, like, I think it would start to build people who have loyalty. But right now, I mean, I don't know if you want to base your entire business on renegade buyers who are just going to go after the cheapest sale.
That's how it works.
In a moment.
Money. It's economy.
It's not how it works right
capitalism.
Now. We see more loyalty. You and I both are people who are willing to spend $60. We're willing to spend $40 to $50 more on a game just because it's available on the platform we like, the console platform we like. So
do I?
over a, you know, if a game is on sale, if you have two games and a game is on sale on PC,
I wouldn't buy it.
30%. Yeah, you're not going to buy it because you want to buy it on the PlayStation. Yeah. So you're either going to wait for a PlayStation sale or you're just going to buy it at full price for PlayStation. Mm-hmm. You know, so I think you and I are.
But this isn't a consumer-facing argument. This is totally like developer-publisher facing. It saves them money. So
okay, that's I think the problem is we're both coming at it from different angles.
I'm just a total like. In this conversation, I could be mistaken for a corporate apologist, so to speak. But this whole promotion, I think Epic Games' presence in the industry is awesome.
I think the competition is good. I just think what I want to see as a consumer is a more robust expansion of that platform before I'm willing to even consider it.
That makes sense.
And I don't think I'm alone in that opinion.
Right? Yeah. Obviously, if you go to Reddit,
exactly.
I saw the memes. Like, it's hilarious. Oh, one last point I didn't make was what I'm really excited about now with the current landscape of things is what is Steam going to do to retaliate? What can they do and what does it look like and how will it affect stuff?
They could drop their cut.
I know.
That would be the obvious one if they were like, okay, fine, we're going to take 20% cut. Then that, you know, it's still an 8% difference, but then they still, again, they have all that like install base and everything that they can still wield around with impunity.
And then what does that look like as far as Valve's features? Because now they're making less money. Mm-hmm. Will that mean the features go away slowly but surely?
I saw one meme that was funny that was like, release the threes. And it was a picture of a Kraken pulling down a ship, and the ship was Epic Games, and the Kraken's tentacles were all. It was
Half-Life 3,
Portal 3, and
Half-Life 2,
Left
Episode
4 Dead 3.
Oh, Left 4 Dead 3. Wow,
so
yeah,
it was like release the threes.
Mm-hmm. Yep,
like,
boom,
yes,
boom, boom,
please.
boom. Yeah, that would wreck
that
Epic
would
Games.
Be hilarious. Cool. Let's finish off. Let's talk about, because I think we've already answered basically all of these questions.
Yeah, we just went through the whole conversation.
Pretty much, yeah, without even having to like explicitly ask the questions. But the one thing that we didn't talk about is, what do you think the future of digital games media and digital stores is going to look like?
Yeah, there was one article, I'll link off to it, that says we will be 100% digital gaming by 2022, which is not that very far away at all. And this is because of streaming and subscription models. Mm-hmm. We saw Google even experimenting with their Chrome browser streamer with Assassin's
Just
Creed
came out
Odyssey.
this week that there was a leak about Apple doing a streaming service too. Now people think it's going to be mostly with like the store, like the Apple Store, so games, mobile gaming, like we talked about 2 weeks ago. But nevertheless, like
the
it's
NVIDIA
still
Shield or NVIDIA thing is, there's like the Xbox One controller with the phone mounted in a little cradle above it, and it can play literally any game you want through a streaming service into that phone, and you have the controller that does the inputs. You know, something happened to me. I had a realization. I never really understood how this whole streaming thing works. And I'm a computer science major. Like, I should figure this out. And then I thought, duh, it's like remote desktop.
Yep, that's exactly what it is.
Why haven't I thought of this before?
We even did that so like my company, which we sell, like that's one of the things we sell is we sell remote desktops, we sell virtual desktops, and like as a demonstration, like they were trying to be like our company went to like a high school like job fair or something like that. And like one of my bosses was like, how are we supposed to like make our platform relevant to something that a way kids would understand? And we came to the decision, we were like, oh, we'll just like stream games on our platform. And that's what we did. We had the kids like come over and like play basically video games on a virtual desktop through, I think it was Steam or something. And they played it like on our server, like it was running on our servers. They built like a sweet virtual server too. Like I've worked a little bit with building servers for my company. And like I saw the specs that they gave this server, and I was like, "Oh, I've never built a server that cool before." But that's what they did: is they streamed games, like as a demonstration for these kids, and I was like, "That's cool." And that's what streaming is. So,
So as internet infrastructure is increasing, because that's the limiting reagent, right? We've got the supercomputers, we've got the consoles on the other end that you can remote into. That's not an issue. The issue is getting remoted into them to stream and have acceptable lag latency. The issue is that you hit a button and there's a lag, and there's latency there between the time you hit the button and it gets to the server changes, and then it gets back to you and user input and stuff. So that's going to kind of get fixed as our internet infrastructure continues to grow. You know, with 5G coming, everything being gigabit internet speeds now, it's getting crazy. So yeah, I mean, the future of games media, you can see all the foundations are being laid for getting rid of physical media almost entirely. Analysts expect that streaming and subscription models will continue to boost digital sales, and these models will become a major area of focus over the next 3 to 5 years.
Yeah, it's ironic because as much as we were sitting here, you know, basically bickering over which platform, Steam or Epic, was better for the industry, they're all about to get supplanted anyways by these streaming models. Like, and the whatever platform kind of perfects and, you know, puts its flag in the ground, whether that's Steam, whether it's NVIDIA, whether it's Google Play, like whoever puts that streaming, you know,
gets it right first.
That flag gets it right first and starts making those sales is going to have the quote unquote Steam advantage in that space. And
it's already rumored the next Xbox consoles are just going to be different flavors of power. There'll be the light box that streams everything, and there'll be the more expensive one that doesn't, that renders it itself. And it's like that's already in the conversation.
So it's definitely the new. It's funny because, you know, we also talked about how like the development of these things has sort of mirrored like the music industry and the movies industry, but whereas music and movies kind of moved fast into each area, the gaming industry may be lagging behind in regards to physical media, but at the end of the day, like the technological developments are already like the framework, the groundwork for this whole replacement of the way gaming works is already being like, I'm wondering how fast is it going to be one of those things where like you wake up the next morning and suddenly like you don't have any more physical games and you're streaming games because the technology is just moving. Again, the technology has been moving at the same pace as it has been with music and movies. It's just been that. Again, it's been, and I truly still, I would say that the biggest thing has been us people who are like, I want to trade my games, or I want to lend my games.
And that happened with the Xbox One, PS4 announcements and releases. Like Xbox One came out and said there's not going to be a disc drive, and PlayStation came out and said, oh, we will have one. And that was a big thing. And that was exactly the dichotomy. Microsoft was trying to push forward and say, let's just go ahead and nip this in the bud and forget physical media now and be the cutting edge.
But then us old fogies were like, no, how dare you? We'll crush
now you have a PlayStation 4.
And now you have a PlayStation and not an Xbox. Exactly. So
PlayStation sold 91 million consoles, and Xbox won't reveal their numbers.
But that's because and I think that, again, the difference though is that like, that's because we still are the driving influence. We are the ones, us people who grew up on cartridges were the ones, are now the ones with expendable income.
Slowly and slowly, we're jumping ship.
Well, but and not only that, but then also the people who are going to have a lot more expendable income rising up are the people who were raised on digital games. And so then
fade out.
there's going to be an E3 sometime in the future or whatever replaces E3 where, you know, one platform is going to say, we have a disk drive. Don't you love it? And all of us old fogies are going to go, yay. But then all the young kids are going to be like, who cares? And the other one's going to be like, we don't have a disk drive. We have all digital. And it's going to, the reverse effect is going to happen. I think that like the exact same scenario, but the reverse outcome is going to happen. And it's all going to be because like the people with the expendable income are going to be the kids who grew up without physical games really, or who grew up thinking, what a waste. Why would you want a physical game when you can just download it and or stream it? Like, so that's, it's huge. It's going to be a huge dichotomy shift, I think, that we're going to see in our lifetime. So, and
one more thing I want to add about the future of digital games is the future of VR. So I'm still fascinated by the idea of an entire retro arcade existing in a VR space, and that all of those emulators, whatever you want to call them, that all the games that you can play, you walk in a virtual world, you walk up to an arcade and play Galaga, Pac-Man, Space Invaders,
on
Centipede.
what looks like the original.
Right, and it looks and plays just like the original cartridges or the original arcade cabinets did. And then you could have...
And with haptic feedback, you'll be able to literally feel
the buttons and everything. And so that's a whole different world of digital stuff. It's like now you're paying a subscription to access this in virtual reality arcade. You know, and then, that's nuts.
It's crazy.
And I think that'll be the future of movies, theaters. Like in virtual reality, you can go to a theater with an infinite amount of people at any time on launch day, whatever's convenient for you on your couch, and you can sit next to your friends.
Or
and
you could do either or. You could either like join in. It would be like the equivalent of like PvP, but with movies, I guess. Where like, oh, we're all going to log into the same theater, and it's going to be with a bunch of people, a bunch of strangers. Or you can do the introvert version and be like, nope, I want to be at a theater by myself on this movie's release
or just
day.
Us four, or just us three. The whole theater's empty. It's just three of us. Yeah,
but it's all a virtual theater. Yeah, no, that's another interesting whole other twist on the digital world of games.
We talked about the future, and I think that's what's coming.
That's true. Yeah, no, you're right. All right, cool. Well, that's our conversation today. Wow, it got kind of heated today.
It was good.
We've heard feedback that our listeners like it when we disagree. So this one was one where we turned out disagreed a lot. So I hope you guys liked it. Tell us what your thoughts are. Are you pro digital stores, or even digital media? Are you an old guard like us who still wants to buy a game and display it on our shelves?
I am an old fogey who loves my PlayStation, my discs. I want to smell the cases, and I love my trophies.
So we don't even typically tend to bother with this dichotomy
this whole
between
argument,
all this stuff. Like,
funny.
Don't get me wrong, I had my heyday where I loved my Steam for a long while. Steam kind of came into my life kind of near the end of my World of Warcraft days, but before my like return to consoles. So Steam was like, it was a glorious time in a lot of ways for my wallet. Like, it was awesome. I did enjoy Steam, and that's part of the reason why I defended it so vehemently is because I'm a bit of a Steam loyalist. But
I was in the beta for Steam when it first came out. Nice. Like the very first installation of Steam available to the public, I had it.
Right. But now these days I'm like, I'm just going to play games on my PlayStation, or I'll... And the only PC games I really play are, again, like games that tend to be exclusive anyway, so I play them through my Blizzard launcher or whatever. So I don't tend to buy a lot of games on Steam anymore. But I still have it installed, and I'm still fond of it when I look at it. But yeah, so what are your thoughts? Like, are you Steam loyalists? Like, there was a lot that we cover in this episode, so just tell us what your thoughts are about digital stores, digital media, in regards to video games. Termite, where can they find us if they want to tweet their ire or their support or whatever they want to?
If you want to tweet at us at 80-bit Podsmash. That's our tag on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. We have a subreddit as well, 80-bit Podsmash. No uppercases or hyphens or anything like that. Nothing funny. If you want to share our podcast or find us to listen to us on different platforms, go to 80bitpodsmash.com. You'll find links to Google Play, iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, all the other possible podcasting platforms you would like.
That we are aware of, at least. If there's someone that's not there, you let us know.
And we'll make ourselves there. But if you want to interact with us, please tweet at us, and please go to our subreddit and start a thread there, or tag us on Facebook in a comment. Please share us on your Facebook feeds. That would be fantastic. The worst that could happen is you might be labeled a gamer.
Oh no, the worst.
Please give us a rating on iTunes, as it helps us. It helps the algorithms bubble us up for new exposure.
Cool. All right, y'all. Well, until next time, you download games or buy physical games, whatever your preference is. Bye.
See you next week.